You're listening to Season 6 of Three Angry Giant Fans and Jet Fan Podcast, brought to you by Rugged Uncle and Carolina Beer Temple. Join us each week as we go over news and notes of the Jets and Giants, give our pet peeves, and basically just gripe about our team's dismal performances as of late. Also go to our website, angryfootballfans.com, and download our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We have a lot of fun doing this. We enjoy all of our fans. Go Jets and go Giants.
This station is conducting a test of the emergency broadcasting system. This is only a test.
You're live.
All right, so that's a re-recording of the old annoying emergency broadcast system. We are on for an emergency pod, although it's not that much of an emergency because really there's some news to share, but I wouldn't call it emergency news. We're just here for season 6 kickoff for Three Angry Giant Fans of the Jet Fan Podcast. So how about that sound from that the alert?
That was so much more annoying than I remembered it being. I mean, that was.
And it's still going on in 2025. It's still, they still use it.
It sounds like, remember when you pick up the phone when someone else in your house is on the internet? You go, the phone. I thought that was the most annoying sound ever. But the emergency broadcast one is right up there.
I mean, it's designed to just, I guess, alert you, right? I mean, it's designed to scare the shit out of you, I suppose, so to make sure you pay attention to when that thing comes on, but It is just hideous.
It must be designed to make me turn it off because that's what I would do if I heard it. What the hell is that?
Mike, for a minute there, I thought you were going to say, like, back in the old days when we were kids, like, you pick up the phone and someone's actually on the phone, like, in your house, like, oh, shit. Like, like that was, like, that's the stuff that these kids today would never get.
They don't understand. You could eavesdrop on phone calls. Yeah, they don't know about that.
Can you imagine picking up your cell phone and hearing a voice on the other end? You're like, what is going on?
Or when someone called through, remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the call through. Gosh, I had a girlfriend in high school that would do the emergency cut in. Like she'd call the operator. So my dad would be on the phone. They'd be like, I'm sorry, sir, we have an emergency cut in. And it was like my girlfriend because the phone's been busy for 20 minutes. My dad didn't like that.
Is that even a job anymore? An operator? Is that a thing?
I don't think it is.
Can't be.
It can't be, right? Just dial 0 and you get a live person.
Yeah. I remember in high school, I was talking with Steph, so my now wife, and we'd be talking. All of a sudden, her father would pick up the phone upstairs. Steph, time for bed. You need to get up.
Parents love that. They did. They love that thing. Michael, I need the phone. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Fill in the blank.
The other bad thing about cell phones now is you can't do prank calls because everyone knows who you are.
Exactly.
Like the jerky boys would not be in existence in 2025.
The big loss. It really was. That was a big part of growing up, right? The prank calls.
Absolutely.
So you could still do it, by the way, if because you could still sort of prank when someone calls you. Like occasionally, if you get a wrong number, you can have some fun with that, or someone tried to scam you. The Prince of Nigeria's. You can still mess with those guys. That's how I get my crank call jollies these days.
So we're going to give a shout out early this week, and this one's for Novak especially. So hello, Justin Fields, dynamic playmaking quarterback going to the New York Jets.
Oh, do we get some little known facts about Justin?
Justin is a great athlete and a terrible quarterback. That's about the only fact we need to know.
Really well said. I mean,
fine. I'm going to go right into it. Justin fucking Fields. Can you guys believe this? This is my quarterback. The guy that we have been making fun of for 2 fucking years is my quarterback. I want to tell Woody Johnson, seriously, put on a pair of steel-toed boots, come to my house, and just ram up, kick me in the nuts, because I have nothing left for this team. Nothing. I hate this team. I hate them with every bone in my body. I went into this offseason, one thing I don't want. One. Do not let Justin Fields be on the Jets. And he's on the Jets. And all I keep hearing about is, he was 4-2 with the Steelers. 4-2. And he still got benched. And I'm trying to tell these idiot Jet fans. That doesn't mean anything. He's 4-2. His average, I've got stats here. His average over those 6 games, 16 for 25, 166 yards, 0.83 touchdowns, and 4 sacks in 6 games. Are you kidding me? And all they want to do is show clips of Justin Fields, throwing touchdowns to Garrett Wilson at Ohio State against Purdue. He's being covered by, Biff Pittsnoggle, who's a financial analyst at Wells Fargo. It doesn't mean anything. This guy can't play football, and he's my quarterback. Guys, I can't do it anymore. The butt fumble, the foot fetish, the fake spike, the Fail Mary, Rodgers eating boogers. It doesn't end. Now Justin Fields.
It doesn't end.
It's a dynamic
how
Justin
this is a
Fields.
thing.
I have to give it up for our listeners because within 10 minutes of Fields signing with the Jets, I must have had at least 6 people reach out and ask if, for a Novak wellness check. So
yeah, my phone was blowing up.
So, but Novak, ESPN, I'm looking at one of their little write-ups here for free agent signings and what it means. The Jets have a new QB1. I'm like, no, they don't. They have a fucking QB0. He's not a QB1. He's a QB nothing. He didn't even start last year. How did we just stop it? So, but then it goes on to say, well, what's the risk? Well, Fields isn't a polished passer from the pocket. He also, since 2021, now 4 years ago, he ranks 29th in total QBR and 34th in completion percentage over expected, whatever. So this, dude. The only good news is that we're going to be talking about Fields. We have to talk about him every week now on the pod. We have to. He's on the team.
So the Jets absolutely made my prediction of this guy being out of the league early. They ruined it. They ruined it because
no, they didn't. They are out of the league. They're not in the league because they're so fucking bad. They shouldn't be in it.
Okay, I'll take that. Yeah, if he's on the Giants or the Jets, he's not in the league. So that's fair. That's fair.
No, on the positive side, Fields' exceptional mobility will provide a dimension the Jets haven't had in a long, long time. By dimensions, do they mean wins? What does that mean?
Wasn't Zach Wilson sort of mobile?
I've heard the dimension argument. And they say adding a dimension, right? But no, you're not adding a dimension because you're giving up a dimension, which is throwing the football. So you're not adding a dimension. You're replacing a dimension.
Right.
I mean, look, I'm going to read our listeners our text thread from Monday at 1:00. This is when it all opened up. I start off, first one. I'm on edge with this Justin Fields talk. If the Jets sign this guy, I may have to go away for a while. Mike, I think everyone feels this way. Just someone sign him to take him off the table, then we can all exhale. And I say, agree. I fear it will be the Jets. I really do. I'll go scorched earth. An hour later, Fields to the Jets. Fucking kill me. Kill me. God damn it. Mike, no way. I hate this team. Me. I hate them with every bone in my body. Mike, emergency offseason pod? Question mark.
That's how we get here. This is how we get here.
Unbelievable.
That's the roadmap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, Novak. I love you to death. I'm glad you're on the pod. This is in no way to make fun of you, but I was so relieved when the Jets signed Justin Fields. I mean, I really was like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God.
Now, we have a question that really is at hand here, though. Is Fields the permanent guy for the Jets, or is he a stopgap for a draftee, or is he the guy for 25?
I mean, the only thing, and this is gonna segue into the Giants. The only thing that could go worse is if they draft Shedeur Sanders as the heir apparent to Justin Fields.
Oh
If
my God.
that could be the case, and if that happens, I don't know. I might die. I might just give up at that point.
this is as bad a pun as you can get. I'm going to trot it out there anyway. But like all season, we're going to have to field questions about Fields. That's what we're going to do. That could be the name of the podcast. If we're ever, actually, that's the name of the spinoff. We're going to have a fucking spinoff podcast in addition to this one. It's going to be the only time in history, like there's like Cheers, like spun off Frasier, like shows like Spin. We're going to be doing two. We're going to have a spin-off podcast while the main one is still going. You know what I mean? Like they're both going to exist at the same time. It's like Cheers and Frasier existing at the same time. And Frasier Crane is existing in both fucking sitcoms. He's going to be in Boston and Seattle at the same time. We have to, like, the other podcast should be named Fielding Questions About Fields or something like that. And it's the four of us, and it's just a side pod.
Yeah, I like it. And then on the normal podcast, when Fields comes up, we're like, save it for tomorrow night. We got
save it for yeah.
God, it's just unbelievable. This is a reality. It's a reality. This guy is my
God. I think your question is a good one, and I don't know. I know how coaches actually feel about Justin Fields, and it's not because they've said it, but it's just what they've done with him when they've had him on their teams. They try to hide him. They get rid of him as soon as they can. They go 4-2, but maybe the best coach in football decides this is smoke and mirrors with this guy. Like if I don't pull the plug now, I'm going to be out of the playoffs before I can even react. So that makes me think in the Jets' minds, the organization, the New York Jets' mind, this is a bridge. This is somebody to kick them down the road. I think like Novak pointed me to this, the Jets fans right now, pretty much en masse, they think what Cardone was just reading. They think they have their QB1. They don't need to draft one. They got their guy. And, I don't know what rationale stands behind that. If this guy was any good, he'd be the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback right now. There's just no question about that.
I got into like a screaming match over text with some Jet fan telling me that I was an idiot because they were 4-2 with Fields. And I said, and they still benched him. Don't you understand?
There it is.
Like, what is not to understand about that? Like, and I was getting, so I go on this Jet thread and I said this to you guys. Here's what the response is to me. Your opinion sucks. Looks like you don't know football. We need a good mobile quarterback. So says the Facebook comment section guy. You're an idiot. Reminds me of the same foolish buffoons who had conviction over Jalen Brunson. Like, what? Like,
Jalen Brunson was a top performer in the NBA for years before coming to the Knicks.
Thing. Jalen Brunson was not a failed twice over person or player that he couldn't even start for a team that started a broken down Russell Wilson. God, like, what is it with this guy? Cardone, I mean, you've been tell me.
You could have signed Daniel Jones.
I would have rather.
I mean, you could have signed Dimes instead of this clown.
Dimes.
Anybody but Fields.
Anybody.
Anybody. No, it's there's no way. And as far as the fans that are saying again, as Scott coined the phrase, the non-knowledgeable football fan many years ago while we were watching we were at a Panther-Niner game. What we were doing at that game, I have no idea, by the way. When a guy was barking while the Panthers were running the ball with a 17-point lead with 6 minutes left. Never mind, but that's where that came from. No knowledge whatsoever.
No football knowledge.
Why are they running the ball? Novak, there's no another pun. There's no justification for signing Justin. I just thought of that one. Just
snap them out.
Keep them coming. Keep them coming.
Bang, bang, bang. I don't know how to even, dude. I don't know how to digest this. I don't know how you're even. I don't know how you're upright right now, to be honest.
Here's what's annoying me about this whole process, and it actually trickles down to Daniel Jones too. Daniel Jones and Justin Fields were heaped on the scrap heap. They were said, oh, these guys are the worst ever. Jones gets signed by the Colts. Fields gets signed by the Jets. And the reviews of those signings have been overwhelmingly positive in the media.
Oh, yeah.
There have not been negatives about those. You know, and I don't know if Jones is planning to start for the Colts. He probably isn't. But Fields going to the Jets, it's almost like they make it look like the Jets now have upgraded from Aaron Rodgers. And in a broken down, Aaron Rodgers is still better than a top-notch Justin Fields, and he's probably not even top-notch.
I mean, we're about to see that because the Jets and the Steelers, it looks like, are essentially trading quarterbacks. And
wow.
some more to talk about there maybe, but that's the way it looks like it's going. But
it does.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't get this move by the Jets, even if he's just a bridge. To Scott's point earlier, Russell Wilson's still out there. You know, you've already seen what both of them could do. Neither one of them was great, so much so that the team with no other hope at quarterback just dropped them both. So, but to me, I mean, if you really want to have a true bridge guy, then it's Russell Wilson. It's a guy who, you know, can get it done still a little bit, not anywhere near what he used to do. But, you know, I was glad. I wasn't glad. There was kind of a funny part of this. But if Russell Wilson had been, if Daniel Jones hadn't been picked up by the Colts, he has to be. I mean, I know they couldn't do this, but he has to be on the Giants list. Or he has to be.
You know, imagine?
That would be one of the great stories.
By the way, the Giants do have a They do have a quarterback. They re-signed Tommy Cutlets. So they signed him for $1 million for a 1-year deal, but they have a quarterback under contract, which they didn't have prior to the other day.
Yeah. $1 million, huh? The trench coat and fedora agent is not doing a very good job there.
So there have been some movements, though. So, you know, Geno Smith went to the Raiders, so he left Seattle, and then to fill him in Seattle, Sam Darnold went from Minnesota to Seattle, Daniel Jones to the Colts, Jacoby Brissett went to Arizona, and there's a lot of rumors that, you know, Kyler Murray might be on the move. They don't really know what's going on there. Giants have been rumored from everyone from Aaron Rodgers to Russell Wilson to Joe Flacco. There's been so many names thrown out there. I was actually hoping we had some clarity on the situation before we came on the pod.
I was too.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I think the Giants' plan is still to draft a quarterback. They're probably going to have a vet in and draft someone. I don't think it's going to be Shedeur Sanders, much like Novak does believe. I think it's going to be someone in the second or third round, and they're going to have a vet there as a bridge, which I don't think I agree with, but I think that's the path they're going to take.
I'll still tell you, by the time this draft rolls around, I almost guarantee you they'll be talking about Jackson Dart as a mid-first round guy. There's been some talk about that. I mean, and I wouldn't, if I'm the Giants and I want Jackson Dart, I wouldn't risk trading back beyond the Jets. I would not want the Jets picking before me if I want Jackson Dart.
Yeah, his stock is rising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's good. That's a good point.
I have to recap some of the Giants' moves. They haven't really done a whole lot, but they signed Javon Holland, who's a safety, for a 3-year, $45.3 million contract. So we're going to talk about some of these contracts that are getting out of hand. They signed defensive tackle Roy Robinson Harris for 2 years, $9 million, which is a relatively cheap contract. They re-signed Darius Slayton, aging Darius Slayton, 3 years, $36 million. They also signed cornerback Paulson Adebo for 3 years, $54 million. He broke a leg last year. He was a decent cornerback for the New Orleans Saints, but he's coming off of a major injury. And then they also signed a linebacker from Dallas, Chauncey Golston. I know Twitter's going crazy about the Slayton signing because they're like, Shane signed Slayton for what they could have gotten Barkley for. Guys, that's apples to oranges. Wide receivers to a running back. I don't know if I agree with giving Slayton that kind of money. At this point, he's a lower end tier 2 wide receiver, if not a tier 3 wide receiver.
It's pushing it to call him a 2.
I think he's a 4. You know how I feel about him. Go find the sound bite where I slam that guy in my peeve. I can't remember what episode it was. That's all I could think about when they signed Slayton. God.
By the way, I did not mention this, Cardone, but for our listeners, go out and look at our website, angryfootballfans.com, and watch Cardone's rant about Justin Fields. It's very appropriate for this podcast.
Please.
It's a great rant. It's out there. I'm probably going to repost it just so people see it this week, but go out there on our website and see it.
I didn't realize how much I hate the guy until I listened to myself. I'm like, wow, that guy's really hates
this guy's convincing. Was that a rant from earlier this year, or was that a last year rant?
I think there was a end of last year rant.
It was last year, 2023 season. Yeah.
Every word of it's still relevant. Every sentence, every word in that.
It's not like the guy improved, right? While we weren't looking. Yeah.
No. I'm still giving Mike credit. He called that Justin Fields would be out of the league. So technically he's wrong. But Justin Fields has technically been out of the league since he left the Bears. He hasn't done shit, you know?
Yeah. I can't, people forget, and apparently the Jets fans forget, that Pittsburgh picking that guy up was a gift. I mean, nobody wanted him. He was on the trash heap. The season was starting to get close. It's not like they thought, "Oh, we got him. It wasn't one of those signings. It was a gift to him. And now he's, by playing in 6 games and winning 4 because he was on a good team with terrible stats, as Novak pointed out. Now he's manufactured those 6 starts into a multi-million-dollar contract.
I mean, I've never seen anything like it, because you remember last year, the narrative was, well, the Bears did him a solid by sending him to the Steelers. Fuck off. They would have sent him to anyone for anything.
Yeah, they didn't care.
They didn't care about what he did or what was good for him. Get out of here.
So Novak, any other Jets signings? I see their team captain has been let go, although he was often injured. Yeah, Mosley.
Yeah, they let Mosley go. They re-signed Jeremy Sherwood, which I do like. He played really well this year. They got what's his name, Cisco or whatever, from the Jaguars as a safety.
By the way, from Syracuse.
Yep, that's right. He's a Syracuse boy. Signed him. A corner from the Ravens. Stevens, I want to say his name is. So yeah, I mean, everything else has been okay, fine. I'm cool with it, but it all doesn't matter. None of it matters.
The headline tonight was Aaron Rodgers hits free agency for the first time in his career.
And I'm telling you, this is what you guys are in the dick vortex right now, because he is going to make it seem like he's more important than the Giants and the Steelers, and he's going to leave you hanging. And I'm telling you, every day that goes by that he doesn't make his decision like he's LeBron James, it makes the Giants look weaker. I'm sorry, it does. And I have a whole take on the Giants and what they've done so far, but I think getting left, they got used by Matt Stafford to get a bigger deal. Now they're in on Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to go to the Steelers, and the Giants are going to be left at the altar twice, and they're going to end up with some middling fucking, Russell Wilson kind of guy that you don't really want. And I think you're going to reach for another quarterback in the draft. This is what happens when you leave a regime in that should have been fired.
And I agree with that. I'm still sitting back here, and we've brought this point up a few times. How does Joe Shane and Brian Dable survive that disaster of a year last year? And then you basically run it back with the same crew for the most part. You're re-signing Slayton. I don't get that part of it. And that's what frustrates me as a Giants fan.
Yeah. I am not sold that the Giants are like all in on Aaron Rodgers right now. I don't think that's the case. I don't. I think they would take just about anybody. I think Rodgers is on the list, but I don't think they're like banking anything on Aaron Rodgers. Just my opinion.
I don't think Rodgers is going to make it here. He's not.
There's a bunch
of, it doesn't seem to make sense. It just doesn't.
There's a bunch of questions here on who we prefer, so I'm going to save my commentary until then. But I don't see Rodgers coming to New York. I think he's playing the Giants off so that to the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers right now are without a quarterback after getting rid of Fields and Wilson's, basically walking.
But that's my whole point. The Giants used to be the team that people would play off of to get to. Now the Giants are in line with the Jaguars and the Jets and the Titans that these players use as pawns to get what they really want. I mean, you're in the bottom feeders now. You are. And I have Justin Fields as a quarterback, so I have nothing to say. But, I mean, and then at the same time, Shane, who last year, right, didn't sign, McKinney, who's a safety? Because, we all thought, you don't pay safeties. Yeah. So what's the first thing you guys go out and do this year? You sign a fucking safety for $36 million. So I'm sorry, you're desperate. These guys are making desperate moves. I don't see it. They're going to be fired a year from now, guaranteed.
Hey, we got a 3rd round pick as a compensatory pick because we got rid of McKinney. Woohoo!
By the way, I have to throw this out there because Darius Slayton, Scott. I'm sorry, you're trying to call him even a low end too. Let me just throw this out there for you, and maybe it'll influence your thoughts on that a little bit. Because in this day and age of the NFL pass happy statistics, his highest number of receptions in any given year is 50. And his best yardage season, 770 yards. So 50 and 770. Those are his career highs. He's been on this team since 2019.
He's never had higher than 50. That's terrible.
That's what I'm looking at here.
2-time Pro Bowler Evan Ingram, who's now going to the Broncos, had more than 50 receptions.
I mean, this guy can't top 50 catches. Come on. Pro Bowler.
2-time Pro Bowler.
770 yards. That's his top.
Who is the safety the Giants just signed? What?
Javon Holland.
Javon Holland.
Holland from Miami.
Who I do know because the Jets played him twice a year. So he's actually he's a player. He's not like a star safety. He's a good player. I mean, he's around the ball quite a bit. I do remember him, but that's like a lot of money for a middling safety.
Here's the point, Novak, that you just made, spelled out very well. So Xavier McKinney has a 4-year, $60-some million contract with wherever he is now. Packers, right?
Yeah. Green Bay.
So they just signed Javon Holland to a 3-year, $45 million contract. That's about the same amount of money per year.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't McKinney have done well for you this year?
Yeah, and I think I do think we could have re-signed him for much less than $67 million.
No doubt. And he was a homegrown Giant. And
Yep.
I will say this with McKinney. McKinney was looking for upwards of $20 million a year, which for a safety is tough to pay, as well as when you're looking at what they were going to do with Jones and Barkley.
Yep. Now, I didn't know that, so that makes a difference. Because he did sign for $16 million a year.
But that being said, I will say this. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly with Novak on Shane. Shane should not have been retained after the year that we just had, especially with the high-profile hard knock segments. And losing Barkley to me is not as much of a death knell as other Giant fans are making it out. But to me, not getting the QB right is a huge thing. And I don't know if I trust them to get the QB right now. Let's say they go for Shedeur Sanders. I'm not going to be happy. If they somehow get Cam Ward, possibly. But here's the thing. Someone said we should trade up to number 1 to get Cam Ward. If you do that, what if the guy's Baker Mayfield?
Right.
That's not worth a trade up. You don't know what you're getting. You have to have a difference maker at quarterback for this to happen. Even the Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence, who everyone thought was a can't miss prospect, there's questions about Trevor Lawrence now. I think the guy's okay, but is he taking you to the Super Bowl? I don't know.
Yeah. Cam Ward does not rise to the level of someone you trade up to the number 1 pick to get.
No.
You do that, like you said, very rarely. That is when there's a Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. And I'll even say Trevor Lawrence. Now, that turned out not quite as well to this point, but sometimes even the can't miss projects miss, but it's just Cam Ward. I think he's probably going to be a pretty good NFL quarterback, but you can't mortgage your future just to get him on your roster. The odds are much, much better that he's not, which is what my pet peeve is going to be about. So I'll stop there.
Any other notable signings you guys have? I saw Rico Dowdell signed with the Panthers after they released Miles Sanders. We've had a few movements. Chase Young signed with
Saints.
the Saints, New Orleans. There's been
Deebo Samuel.
Deebo Samuel to the Washington.
Yeah.
To the
Tunsil, Laramie Tunsil, they got him too.
Tunsil went to the Commanders too. The Commanders are loading up. Eagles lost both Slay and both their cornerbacks, but
the Eagles are getting picked a little bit.
I think the Eagles will somehow find a way to replenish that.
I'm sure there's still $86 million under the cap somehow. So
yeah.
And by the way, the Eagles did re-sign Saquon Barkley to the largest contract ever for a running back, and they're universally applauded for that, where the Giants were, basically scolded for even thinking about paying Barkley decent running back money.
Whether people want to remember history or not, nobody thought giving Barkley the money from the Giants outside of some rabid fans thought that was a good idea. Nobody from the financial, salary cap standpoint, nobody thought that signing Barkley was couldn't have worked out any worse, of course, but that's because we're who we are.
I do always love this time of year when name guys make the headlines, even though the moves are probably not going to make much of an impact. So DeAndre Hopkins went to the Ravens, Joey Bosa went to the Bills, but are those moves actually doing anything for those two teams?
Yeah. You're
hard to say.
No.
I just see here, go ahead, Novak. I'm sorry.
Let's say the one that sticks out to me as the most significant is Myles Garrett. Because at least, look, we're fans of the Jets and Giants, and then they're the bottom feeders. We are not the Browns, because this guy basically went to the world and said, I want nothing to do with this trash organization. And what did they do? They just did what they did with Deshaun Watson and just overpaid this fucker. And he doesn't want to be there. Like, how bad and sad are you as an organization if you were like, please stay. I know you don't want to be here. We're going to pay you 3 times as much as you're worth just to keep you. But yet no one talks about that. That organization... Thank God I'm not. I mean, as a Jet fan, I'm saying thank God I'm not that.
Yeah. I just saw a recent bracket. You know how around this time of year they have brackets for everything, and it was saddest fan bases. So it was over all sports. It was over all sports, and the final was Jets against Browns, and the Jets won. Or no, I'm sorry, no, the Browns won.
Thank you. At least I have that. Thank God for the Browns.
Giants couldn't have been far behind that.
No, we were definitely
you have 5
in the
Super Bowls or whatever. Get out of here.
We were in the Elite Eight.
So since we started talking about it and we were treading at it, Mike, I'm going to let you go with pet peeves.
All right, my pet peeve is I stole this word for word, which I've never done before. But being an emergency podcast, man, we had to go on emergency rations here. So I stole this from Andrew Siciliano. It was a post he had on Instagram, and I thought it was great. I saw it today, and I said, man, I could probably wrap that into a pet peeve. So we were just talking about it. We were just kind of headed down the path of these first round guys and who's worth a top pick and all that. So I want to go back to just take a look at the quarterback free agent signings that are happening right now and just talk about those a little bit. So Zach Wilson, of course, Novak knows, was a 2nd overall pick. This is his 3rd NFL team, the Dolphins. Sam Darnold, so again, Novak.
Another Jet.
Yep, signed with the Seahawks. This is his 5th overall team. These are first round picks that people thought were no miss. Justin Fields. Yep. Justin Fields is right there. I think he was at number 10.
Too.
Yep, Jets involved in that one. This is his 3rd NFL team. And already Pickett, who signed with the Browns, this is already, believe it or not, his 3rd NFL team. So in the 2022 draft, the whole draft, only one quarterback is still with the same team that drafted him. Any guesses on who that might be?
From 2022?
22?
No, 2022. It's not Mac Jones.
It's Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy. Mr. Irrelevant.
Pick. Yeah. So, I just wanted to touch on that. My pet peeve is everyone saying the Giants have to mortgage everything to get one of these guys. And, there's some of these guys just were no miss prospects. And I don't even think Cam Ward is what people are considering a no miss prospect right now. So certainly not Shedeur Sanders. So, everyone needs to calm down when it comes to first round quarterbacks here. Famously, a lot of quarterbacks who had wonderful careers, multiple Super Bowls, were not first round guys. So, everyone relax. This is going to work out.
We have to do what Cardone loves, the Frank Drebin. Everyone relax.
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Please disperse.
Yep. So that's it. We dodged one bullet. Sorry, Novak. We dodged the Fields bullet. Now we just have to dodge the Shedeur Sanders bullet. And no matter what happens after that, I'll consider this offseason draft and everything probably a moderate success just already from knowing we didn't do one or both of those two things.
You know what I want for the Giants? Sign Jameis Winston. Bring some life back into that organization. Nothing else will be entertaining.
Jameis Winston is on that list, but the guy is so inconsistent. I mean, he can't win for you.
So it's fun.
Go down having some fun.
Right? I mean, if you're going to lose with fun.
Inconsistent. I would take inconsistent. Right now, we're consistently losing.
Right?
Yeah.
14 out of 17 last year that we lost. I'll take inconsistent.
That
at least puts us at 8 and 9.
We've been dealing with Daniel Jones and for some reason lost the long ball along the way, which was a very big strength in his first couple of years. Now we could have a guy just throwing long balls every play. I mean, that would Winston, just chuck it up there, man. Let's go. The new Rex Grossman.
So I'll go next on the pet peeves. I have one minor one and then a big one, because this time of year it's March Madness and ESPN actually has a ticker symbol for Lunardi, Joe Lunardi. So I don't know this, guys. Is Joe Lunardi, is he legitimate? Like, does his predictions usually come true when he has the first four in, first four out, and all of that? Because this is all we see this time of year for like the last 3.5 weeks. Whenever you're watching ESPN, we have the Lunardi bracketology, everything going on. So Joe Lunardi, after North Carolina won tonight, and there was someone that lost earlier on like a Big 10 game or something like that, Big 12. He's now put North Carolina out of the first four out into the first or the last four in. And I'm thinking to myself, wait, what's going on here? So Joe Lunardi is a small pet peeve. I have a larger one, but is Joe Lunardi, is he traditionally dead on with his picks? I don't really know.
None of these.
I
of course
looked
not.
this up for you. Go ahead, Novak. Or Cardone, I'm sorry.
No, I mean, it's not at all, Scott. I mean, these guys, who were they? Like the so-called experts, right? Bracketologists, whatever they call themselves. No, Lunardi.
Bracketologists.
So how'd you like to have that job? I'm a bracketologist. You introduce yourself to someone at like an airport. What are you? I'm a bracketologist. I'm a bracketologist.
Well, no, he probably goes by the king of bracketology, which he is here on the internet. He seems to be living off 2008 when he correctly predicted the entire field. I don't see much beyond that.
Yeah, well,
I just know this time of year, everyone looks to Joe Lunardi and what his predictions are, and then when they don't come true, everyone's like, "Oh, Lunardi had him in. Come on, what's going on?"
All I know about Lunardi is he doesn't need Rugged Uncle because that hairpiece there's no point.
No point.
So my second pet peeve is more of a general one about this time of year. it's the season of crowning champs in April. And I can never get behind that. You know, like for years we talked about the Redskins being paper champs, or, you know, there's always a team that's a champ on paper. Guys, who you're signing in free agency, even before the draft, you can't. Our appetite for immediacy wants it, but you can't determine who's going to be better because of what they've done in free agency right now. And this happens every friggin' year. I was listening earlier today, and they're like, well, you got to look at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are making some moves. Travis Kelce's coming back. You know, they lost a safety, but they're gaining a cornerback. And I'm thinking to myself, well, Xavier Worthy just beat up his girlfriend. You know, what's going to happen there? And then, you know, the whole thing with Kelce, he's another year older. You know, no one takes this into account.
Yeah. Now, they're very unimaginative. They can't imagine anything. Like, if you look at someone's predictions, usually from year to year, it's just like last year's final standings just pushed over to they just can't imagine anything else happening. Like, they can't fathom it. If you're good, you're going to be good again. If you're bad, you're going to be bad again. They might take a flyer on some middling team. Oh, they're ready to step up. But the main point of that is they are consistently wrong. They can't.
By the way, since the year 2000, every season, so we're now at 24 seasons since the year 2000, every season has seen at least 5 teams from the year before not make the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's pretty consistent. That's pretty consistent.
Why not us? Why can't we ever be one of those 5?
No.
What the?
Seriously.
Because we got Joe Shane. That's why.
I just hate this time of year when we crown champs. We don't need to do it. You know, I think Mike said this before, much like the NCAA tournament that we're about ready to watch. We know who the champion's going to be at the end. We know who the champion's going to be at the end of the football season. Someone wins the Super Bowl. We don't have to crowning someone in August doesn't make any difference because we know who wins in February.
So
you want to crown them, crown their ass.
Where have we heard that before?
The late great Denny Green. Cardo, do you have a pet peeve, or do you want to pile on one of ours?
I'll just have to do. I might have to just do like a retread of one I've done in the past. You know, this time of year. So definitely feel a little rusty here with the emergency broadcast pod. I didn't have one queued up, but before I get to one, I have one. It's kind of half-ass. But still something I thought of that was funny. I think you guys would appreciate this. If you saw it, it'd be funnier, of course, because this is more of a visual thing. I think it was the other day when I'm scrolling through. I'm on one of the apps, and it's little tiny little chiclets of like a picture of a player, and on top of the little the little icon there is breaking. You know, in other words, like breaking news. So I'm scrolling through like 7 of these things. And then I get to a guy that it's just a picture of him. It doesn't say breaking news. Who is it? Tommy fucking DeVito. It's a picture of DeVito. It's like breaking news. Deebo Samuel to the Redskins. Breaking news. Geno Smith. Breaking news. And then all of a sudden it's like Giants re-signed Tommy DeVito to a 1-year deal. And then I'm scrolling. And then the next guy, everything was breaking for like 7 straight guys. And then there's a picture of fucking cutlets there with nothing to highlight or to like draw your eyes to the visual. And I'm like, of course. Then I scroll through another 5 more breaking things, and like I literally went back. DeVito was the only schmuck in there that didn't have like breaking news next to him. What does that tell you? It's obviously
nobody cares.
It's not breaking news.
No one gives a shit.
But nah, my peeve is just I mentioned to you guys, like, you know, on our text thread, I mentioned all the speculation this time of year. It's similar to like when this. We're going to have this. I know we'll do a pod for the schedule pre-release when that comes out about the speculation of who's playing in Germany and who's playing opening night and all that. Same concept here, guys, with free agency. You hear all about these signings. We're hearing about the Dick. We're hearing about all these different potential landing spots for all these players. Drives me nuts. One article I read, this was really my peeve, I guess, was that the headline is winners and losers. So just like you're talking about, Scott, we have to predict. We already have to decide who's succeeding in free agency and who isn't based on some asshole's expertise opinion, right? So winners and losers. Of course, So I scrolled down to the Giants, right, immediately, and they got actually an A. I don't know who it was, but someone gave them an A for signing Javon Holland. But in the same page, the Giants were considered a loser. So I'm like, well, how can that be? So they got an A, but yet they still failed.
It still fell into the loser category.
So this
you did something
is wrong with the system
to offset the A.
Yeah. So something is wrong with the system there, but no, just a general peeve. I've used this one before, I think. So I'm retreading it a little bit, and just the absolute insufferable speculation this time of year. We're gonna have it again come draft and the schedule.
Yeah,
so
it's coming.
So yeah, we got to deal with this really for the next the next month and a half, when the schedule comes out, which is now mid-May now. So that was really it. Just like I said, it's kind of an oldie but a goodie.
It is a good one, and on top of it, what's the legal tampering 2 days? What's the point of that? Is that an oxymoron? Legal tampering? Isn't tampering illegal? What are we doing? What? Just call it what it is. Just move it up 2 days. Why have a legal tampering period?
That's like legal speeding down the road. Yeah, I was legally speeding, huh?
Right.
Yes. How?
Don't call it the legal tampering era. Just call it the period of time where you're allowed to talk to players. Why? It's not tampering if it's legal. It's only tampering if it's illegal.
It's like when the Mets front office tried to hire Costanza. We're not really having a meeting. We're not really talking. So you want me to get fired? We didn't really say that.
Novak, pet peeve?
Yeah, so my pet peeve, I'm going away from football because I'm so angry at football right now because of the Jets and everything else, Justin fucking Fields. So, we've been off for like a month, and I was trying to think like what angered me the most. And, I've always felt that I don't think that these sports leagues actually fix things or cheat. I do think, however, that like the referees we've talked about, the sports, the NFL might say to the referees, well, we do so much better when the Chiefs are good. Like they don't say, do something for the Chiefs, because you're supposed to do that, but they throw it out there, right? I mean, those things I think happen. The one league, however, that I feel I've always been questionable whether or not they fix things is the NBA. And as a Knicks fan, I do believe that back in the day when they had those cards and they pulled out the Patrick Ewing going to the Knicks, I think that was fixed. I do. I really do. Just because you've heard the story, they like put that one card in the freezer the night before so that when David Stern put his hand in, it was cold, so he picked out the card for the Knicks. Have you heard this?
I have not heard that actually.
Yeah, there was a whole documentary on that. You got to find it. But it was that they put it in the freezer, so when he reached his hand in that thing, he pulled out the cold card that was the Knicks for Patrick Ewing. So I have always felt that the NBA is a little shady. This Luka Doncic thing is such a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah.
Why is this guy going to the Lakers? And I'll tell you the reason he's going to the Lakers, because the NBA was like, oh shit, we might have an Oklahoma City Cleveland final. That can't happen. We got to get LeBron James some help. And so what GM in their right mind would trade away the 5th or 6th best player in the NBA for a broken down Anthony Davis and a couple other scrubs? This was fixed. I'm convinced of it. So my pet peeve is the NBA is a fixed league. I don't believe that. I think this was fixed, and I'm putting it out there now. You know who's going to win the NBA draft lottery? The Dallas Mavericks. This is going to be payback
to make up. Yeah.
They're going to get Cooper Flag.
Yeah.
Because you trade away Doncic, let him go to the Lakers because the NBA makes more money when the Lakers are good. So that was my pet peeve. And no one talked about this. I was so angry about this trade, just because they're going to be good now, and I hate the Lakers. So yeah, my pet peeve is the Luka Doncic trade, which I think is bullshit.
Novak, I have to tell you something. I've been going to Dallas lately, and in Dallas right now, they're in full meltdown mode because they got rid of Doncic for nothing, and then Kyrie Irving is out for the year with a torn ACL. Yep. So right now, the Mavericks are in free fall. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. I think they're in 14th place in the conference. They aren't going to make the playoffs, and everyone is just flipping out in terms of what's happened to this franchise that, of course, was doing well. And I was at the Dallas airport. And of course, one of the restaurants there is called Nowitzki's.
Yep.
Dirk Nowitzki. So it's like
Yeah.
you're sitting there and you're basically outside of the Cowboys, the Mavericks are the next closest thing that has a following there. I know the Rangers have had success, but I think it's the Mavericks and the Cowboys.
If they win the draft lottery, you heard it here first. I'm just putting that out there.
That's it. That's a
Mark
factor
that
there
down.
I've not heard before.
Yeah.
But my soon-to-be brother-in-law, he and I watched an 11 or 16-minute YouTube video about all this stuff, and it was extremely compelling. The argument for why the fix was in on this.
Oh, really? There's a I got to see that.
Yep. It's like a 16, I don't know the name of it or anything, but it's out there, and it like lays out the case, goes back a few years, it is like, yeah, okay, I get this.
I don't put
This makes
anything
sense.
past these leagues
No.
to do some shit. Nothing, especially the NBA.
Especially the NBA
Definitely
with,
not the
with,
NBA.
with Donahue and Donahue had always said that he wasn't the only one that was involved in situations with gambling, and they swept that under the rug.
Yeah.
Well, if you look back, there's a documentary about like back in 2003. Remember when the Sacramento Kings were good?
Oh,
with,
that was a
Weber
terrible game. That single game against the
100%.
Lakers.
Yep. That was totally fixed because the NBA is just printing dollars. They did not want the Sacramento Kings in the NBA Finals over the Lakers. If you watch that game, it was a travesty that they won that game, the Lakers.
If you go back, Novak, that game, the Sacramento Kings had a 12-point lead going into the fourth quarter against the Lakers. And somehow the Lakers in that fourth quarter ended up with like 17 more free throws.
Yep.
In the quarter.
Than the Kings, who had a 12-point lead or whatever going into that fourth quarter. Yeah. How does that happen? It doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
So, all right, we got a lot of questions. So Peacock Corner is back. Peacock asks if we would rather have Rodgers or Winston or a rookie if we're the Giants quarterback. And I'm going to say this. I think we need to have a bridge there just for consistency's sake. The guy I'm looking at, and he's under the radar right now, is Carson Wentz. I want Carson Wentz, and I want us to draft Jackson Dart or someone in the second or third round. If we can move back into the first round, I'm fine with getting Dart there, but I want Wentz. Wentz is out there.
This is brutal. I don't want Dick. The Dick. Wentz, but I think I agree. God, Scott. I mean, it's a good question because I don't think there's there's not a satisfying answer. I mean, we need someone. Yeah, we need that bridge quarterback. Jameis, we don't have. This is going to be another throwaway year, right? We know that they're not going to make the playoffs this year. The Giants, it's not. Yeah, they're just so it's just another absolute dead lost year. Best case scenario, maybe we go with. It's going to have to be some kind of bridge quarterback, some kind of veteran. I forgot about Carson Wentz. I really did. That he was floating around out there. He's better than Aaron Rodgers. I mean, in terms of just having to look at somebody, but God, is he better? I don't. Peacock, I don't like this question. Next, because it's a good question. I don't like it. Pass.
It really is. I mean, I would rather, provided we get one of the better quarterbacks in this draft, I would rather have them be day one starter than pretty much anybody out there. In my opinion, I know you risk just rocking their world, but of course the Giants with Tom Coughlin did it right. They signed Kurt Warner. They drafted Eli Manning. That's how you do this. That's how this is done. And Kurt played really well for the Giants. People forget that, but what did he have as Cardone? Like 6-2 or something at one point, or
5-4.
5-4.
We just lost against the Bears. We were 5-3, lost to the Bears to make it 5-4. We brought Eli in, and we really tanked that season. But but to your point, Mike, we were competitive with Warner.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when I think we were actually like 5-2, and then we lost the 3 in a row or 2 in a row, and that's when Coughlin pulled the plug and said, "All right, let's get the kid in there."
Yeah.
And a lot of people thought that was too early. There were some Giant fans who were mad, especially in Eli's debut game, which did not go well. I don't remember which Eagle it was, but I remember Eli tried to run the ball and some Eagle just lit him up. I'd say that's it. His career over. But as we know, he bounced back like he did all the time. But yeah, I don't know. There's no Kurt Warner out there this time. You could make an argument that Rodgers is a Kurt Warner, but I think Kurt Warner then had more tread on his tires than Rodgers does now. So, yeah, I don't know. This is an impossible question. I know it's not Rodgers. I don't want Rodgers. Just the name Carson Wentz just makes my skin crawl. So I can't get on that boat. But, I like the idea of Russell Wilson coming in here and getting beat up for a little while. It's fine with that.
This is where having this regime back really hurts you, right? Absolutely. And that Colts win it just I hate to go back to it, but if you're the number 1 seed right now and you have a new regime in there, they have like a mulligan, right? They can be like, hey,
I know
we don't like this quarterback class, so we're gonna trade out of here and we are gonna stockpile a shit ton of picks, and we're gonna throw away 2025. And next year, apparently, there's a ton of quarterbacks coming out. You've got 3-4 number 1 picks over the next 2-3 years because some idiot team is trading up to get Cam Ward. I mean, I that win is going to haunt you guys for 10 years. Yeah. I really think that. Maybe I'm over exaggerating, but I've been there. I think it's going to. I think everything changes with that win. I think probably Dable and Shane are gone. You've got a new regime, and they're like, nope, don't like these quarterbacks. We are going to stockpile picks, and we're going to build this team the right way. Now you're getting desperate.
Yep.
Carson Wentz you're talking about.
That would that would be the ideal, I think, would be to trade back out of the number 1 spot this year if we had it, get a bunch of picks, and then package those picks together, move up to number 1 next year,
or if you're bad enough, you're already number 1 plus all the picks that you've just stockpiled.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Peacock also asks, this is more for Novak, why do Jets always do dumb things?
I mean, I don't have an answer for it other than they're the Jets. I mean, I just don't know. Like, I think they're just cursed. Like, you want to go back to my name with curse thing from 2 years ago? You can listen to that. That's what it is. They're cursed. This franchise is cursed. I'm cursed. I'm stuck with them. They will continue to do dumb things. I will never see a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I've come to the conclusion after the Dick experiment failed, and it's just going to be what it's going to be.
I will say this, watching the Jets from afar, you guys brought in Rodgers, you brought in Devontae Adams last year. You had a core there that was solid, and it just didn't happen. I don't blame Saleh. I think Saleh was
he was a scapegoat.
He was a scapegoat.
Yeah, no doubt.
But you guys had the pieces there, and it just didn't come together. And that happens with other teams too. It's not just the Jets, not just the Giants, but it's one of those things where I think now you're dealing with the fallout of that, because now you lost a quarterback. The quarterback's gone. Devontae Adams is gone. Mekhi Becton's gone. All those guys are gone, and you have to rebuild just like the Giants do. And one quarterback, by the way, can change all this for us.
Novak, is there anybody who signed, not even as a starter, that you would say, okay, Justin Fields is better than that? I'll give you the list. Jacoby Brissett, Nick Mullins, Jimmy Garoppolo, Zach Wilson, Josh Dobbs.
Zach Wilson is the only one I would say there.
Yeah, you would say. The other ones you would take over Fields as a starter.
I would, as a bridge situation.
Yeah, not as a long term. Right?
No, and to be honest, and I'm not just saying this, the one thing I would rather have Fields over is Shedeur Sanders. because I hate the Dion factor. Yeah. You guys know how I feel about Dion. I think it's a major circus. I think this guy is overinflated because of his name. That is the one thing I would want less than Fields. And I'm just being honest.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. He's a grenade to your organization, man.
No doubt.
It's gonna be.
I mean, you've seen him in these interviews. He's, I hope you guys don't get him either, because I think that is just going to be a nightmare for any organization that takes this guy.
Well, you could get me immediately back, because if the Giants take him at 3, you could say, Mike, I was so relieved.
That is true. Right. I could say that.
Yeah. So Peacock also asks, with the Giants signing Golston, the linebacker from Dallas, is that a good idea or a bad idea? It's, Giants signing Dallas players should be a bad idea. And he's not high on Golston. I'll say this, the write-ups I've seen on Golston have been positive. So at least at a linebacker position, what the Giants have, a lack of depth on, I'm fine with them taking a flyer on a guy like this. They're not paying him a ton of money. But, I don't mind it. I'm trying to think of Giant Dallas signings in the past. I know Everson Walls worked out well for the Giants.
Yeah, that was the best one.
Yeah, I'm okay with that signing.
Yeah. I don't know enough about Chauncey Golston to be able to comment on that effectively, but to Scott's point, it was a low contract. It's,
But aren't the positions you don't pay a lot for linebacker, safety, and fourth wide receivers, and that's your 3 signings?
That's what we've done. Yeah.
That's what we've gone after.
Yeah.
That's what Shane is targeting.
Fourth wide receivers that we've run back like 5 years straight.
No, I do not get this Slayton.
Torn up for 2 years on Slayton. I mean,
can't believe it.
Like the Rams just released Cooper Kupp earlier today.
Yep.
So
he's out there.
I know he's a better receiver right now than Darius Slayton is. I know it.
Yeah.
Now,
sure.
I know this doesn't deserve any airtime, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Just the fact that we also signed Jamie Gillian, our fucking punter, that Scottish asshole. That's another sign that just this whole franchise is just packed with a bunch of packed with ponies, packed with losers. We're just packed with losers.
I didn't know we had re-signed.
I didn't know you signed
the putter.
We did.
We signed Gillian. We
signed Gillian
long
again.
Snapper too. Crater.
No, you did
Gillian.
So a punter, a long snapper, DeVito, a safety, a linebacker, and a fourth string wide receiver.
That's right. So let's run them all back, Novak. Go back to my rant on Slayton. I threw Gillian in there in that one as well. Who throws punters in on their rants? I did. Who rants about punters? We do.
Scottish
this podcast does. And we can't get rid of them. This guy's still in my life. We can't get rid of punters. You can get one off of just grabbing someone out of a traffic jam and finding a better punter.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, you can get. There's absolutely 1,000 punters.
Seriously, there really is.
So we also have a really good question from Peacock what's our best case draft scenario for both the Jets and the Giants? Ooh. And I'll say this from the Giants standpoint. My best case draft scenario is either to stay put and take Hunter or to draft down. Draft down, like Mike said, no further than the Jets, and try and get Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
But you've got an extra pick there when you do that. That's my case. Yeah. I like that.
I agree with that 100%. Stay at 3 and take Hunter, or trade back and cross your fingers that you get Dart. Now, the Giants do have a history of saying, we like this guy, we can't find a trade back partner, or I don't trust if we trade back, the Jets aren't going to trade forward. Fuck the media coverage on this. We're taking him now.
Yeah.
The Giants do have a history of that, of just saying, if we can't, we're taking this guy one way or the other. And if I can't find the appropriate trade back to do it, I will take him too high.
A la Jones.
Yeah. A la Sims.
Yeah.
I mean, for the Jets, I would like the trade back scenario as well, only because we gave up so much for Hassan Reddick, Devontae Adams, Aaron Rodgers. So we've lost a lot of our draft capital over the years. I would like at 7. Is there any difference between 7 and 12? Probably not, right? I mean, minimal at best. But if I can pick up a 3rd round pick to move back 5 spots and still get a guy, I'm not going to say I know all these guys are. Someone that's going to fill a need at 12 and we get another pick and get some depth. I'd rather go that route. So that would be what I would want. I do like Dart as well. So I wouldn't mind moving back to say 14, getting a 2nd round pick for moving up, for trading back, and then getting Dart and someone else. So we might be competing against each other for that guy. But I kind of like it. 6'3", Ole Miss. I mean, he looks pretty good. Watched him in the combine a little bit. Yeah, I would love to see that. So that just because I don't want to think that Justin Fields might be my quarterback for more than a year.
Yeah, at least it gives you that. If they draft a quarterback,
Right.
You're like, okay, all right.
This is just a 1-year thing. Let him suck. That's fine. I don't care.
Yep.
Get the new kid in there. Yep.
Is 2 available for the Jets, or is he going to have to change his numbers? 2, somebody.
2 would be available.
Don Maynard or somebody.
No, 2 is not. We don't have any retired numbers other than 12 and 13. So no, I think 2 would be fine.
But did he wear 1 with the Bears?
He was 1 with Bears and then 2 with Pittsburgh.
2 with Pittsburgh.
So is he 3 now? I mean, is this the pattern?
He's counting
quarterback
the
3. Is that?
I think the last Jet to wear 3 was Rick Meyer. So I mean, it's been a while.
Oh,
Rick Meyer was a Jet?
Yeah, he was.
I never knew he was a Jet. Jesus.
That was during the Vinny Testaverde Achilles tear year.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
So my buddy Mike Harrison has a bunch of questions too. He asks, what is Novak drinking? Hard stuff or beer based on the Fields signing?
I don't normally drink hard stuff, so I just went straight to beer that day. But I need to not drink my sorrows away, because if I did, because I'm a Jets fan, I'd be just an alcoholic.
Miller Lite, or was it a different beer?
No, I went to Miller Lite. I mean, I'm just a simple guy. What do you want?
The Miller Lite is the beer of sadness.
It kind of is. Like, it's going to be the same. It's not anything that's going to be fun or exciting. It's just the same thing, and just drown your sorrows that way.
Another question for Novak. What's the forecast for opening day? Is he going to exceed expectation, disappoint? Is he going to lead them down for a couple of touchdowns, lose at the end? What do you see opening day for Fields?
I see opening day, he's going to break off a run for like 70 yards, and my idiot Jet fans are going to be like screaming about how great he is.
So.
Told you so. Yep, exactly, Cardone. And they're going to jump on the bandwagon, and this guy is going to be 9 of 24 for 77 yards, 2 running touchdowns, and 5 sacks. And they're going to lose 14-7.
What was the one, Mike, where like one game where Fields broke out of the pocket and you're like, and the announcer's like, there he goes. Like, he's unstoppable. He's done this his whole career. He's just like, there's no way to contain the guy. He's a matchup nightmare. There he goes.
There we go. There was a very old episode of The Simpsons that I remember, and it was like they were watching the Broncos on TV, and the Simpsons used to make fun of the Broncos and Elway a lot, which I thought was always funny. But it shows Elway like he's running around, he almost gets sacked, like he spins out of it. The announcers are going nuts, and then he dives at the goal line, touchdown as time expires. Broncos lose 52-7. That is Justin Fields today. You get a 3-minute highlight package. You get 4 Justin Fields plays, and then they're like, and the final, Pittsburgh 27, the Bears 5.
That exactly goes back to like, so a bunch of Jet fans were saying like, well, they got Justin Fields. Aaron Glenn didn't have a good track record against Justin Fields, so he must know he's really good. And I'm like, no, I'm worried that my head coach doesn't know what the hell he's doing because he can't stop Justin Fields. Like, I think the opposite.
The scariest thing. Yeah.
Like, I'm worried, like, this guy couldn't stop Justin Fields. and he's my head coach. That's how I thought. Not like, oh, Aaron Glenn thinks must be great because he couldn't stop him.
Yeah,
give me a break.
Ran out and got him. That's what he did. Who's the toughest quarterback that Aaron Glenn ever played against? The immediate name that came to mind was Justin Fields.
Justin Fields.
Remember Belichick used to say, I used to sign guys that I couldn't cover. Or I would sign guys that I couldn't. That's what Aaron Glenn's doing, but he's doing it with Fields.
Yep.
Sign guys I can't stop.
So Mike asks one last question. He asks, what's our predictions for the Mets and the Yankees? Oh. So I know we have 3 of the 4 covered here out of us. Look, the Yankees right now, they've gotten some bad news. Giancarlo Stanton has some elbow issues. Garrett Cole is on the shelf for the entire year with Tommy John surgery. I still see the Yankees. They signed Max Fried in the offseason. I see them being a playoff team. Can they go farther than that? I have no idea, but they're a playoff team.
Don't forget Heel. They lost. He's out too.
Oh yeah,
I don't know for how long? For another starting
like
pitcher.
3 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
You have to call it Heel, even though his name's Gil. Gil.
Heel. Whatever. Heel. Yeah. I think we might have mentioned this before. Yeah, the Yankees have not had a losing season since 1992. Think about that.
Wow.
92. The last time they lost more games than they won in a single season. So. I've been saying for a while. I mean, last year they obviously went it all the way to the World Series. I don't know, man. I think losing Cole, losing Stanton being out. By the way, what other team has this many injuries in March in baseball than the Yankees? And yet, it just like we don't fire Shane or anybody else. We haven't fired who's the Yankee trainer? Somehow this team makes the playoffs every year, wins divisions, and we have more games lost to injury than any team in Major League Baseball I can think of. Who's our trainer? Who is?
It's
fire the guy.
I mean, as far as the Mets, I mean, I just so you guys know, I think the Yankees. I mean, that the American League is not any good. I mean, there's maybe 3-4 teams that are competitive. You can look at the Red Sox, the Tigers, maybe the Blue Jays. I don't know.
Red Sox? Woof.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox are going to be good this year.
The Orioles are still good.
Orioles are good.
Cleveland.
Okay, Orioles. Cleveland. Yeah. But the Mets are in the division with, the Braves and the Phillies. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the division alone. Plus, you got the Dodgers. That said, I do think the Mets are going to be very good this year. I think 93 wins. I'd like to think they're going to win the division. But it's, for baseball, it comes down to injuries. So I'm going to say the Mets are going to they'll win the division. I don't know that they'll be in the World Series. I'd like to think they would be, but they're the new team in New York. Just saying.
Ooh.
They are.
I have no dog in this fight, but I'll tell you a funny story. So every year, ever since phones and texting have become a thing, when the Mets win their first game of the year, I get a text from Peacock, and if it's the opener, he'll say, Mets 162-0, book it. if they lose their first 2 and then win their third, he'll say Mets 160-2, book it. So I look forward to that text at the start of baseball season every year.
That explains a lot with him being a Met fan.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got anything else tonight?
No, I don't.
All right, I got to give it up. It's season 6 kickoff. We didn't think we'd kick it off this early, but because of all the turmoil with Justin Fields, we thought we'd come on air. So season 6 is kicked off for the 3 Angry Giant fans and Jet fans. So
yeah, it's like the cold open, right? It's like.
I just hope you guys get Rodgers so that I can use my giant dick quote. Or pun.
I gotta say this. I love it. We're gonna have a lot of exciting things going in season 6. We're looking at another live pod, so just stay tuned and keep up with this.
Yeah. I don't. I had something in closing, but my old brain just dropped it. So
I would imagine we'll be back in a month for the draft, right?
draft and
review,
schedule
and
release.
then we do the schedule release. Yeah.
And we might have another emergency pod depending on who the Giants sign as a quarterback.
If it's the Dick, I got to get your feedback.
Yeah.
Your response
If
to
we
that.
sign the Dick, we will be back next week.
Please let it happen.
No way. It's not happening.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
See
All
ya.
right. See you.